Welcome to the 5 for 2 podcast with me, your host Adele, where we say no to careers where you're trading 5 days of misery for 2 days of fun. A place we discuss all things career, confidence, and money moves. I want to motivate, teach, and empower ambitious women to achieve more, earn more, feel more confident, and enjoy the work they do. It's all about believing you can have everything you want in your career and then going and getting it. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. I hope everyone is doing well. So this week, I'm jumping straight in. We are talking about how to get job offers no matter what is happening in the job market. Listen, I have lived through the 2008/2009 financial crisis. The housing market crashed. Everyone started losing jobs. Companies started losing money left, right, and center. It was insane. And guess what Adele decided to do during that time? I decided I was going to go and get another job and did, and got a pay rise, and it worked out for me. And I know that wasn't everyone's story. But what I'm saying to you is even in a crappy job market, even in a crappy economy, because our whole economy crashed back then. If you're old enough, if you're as old as me, you remember living through that. It was insanity. So this job market, although it feels totally different to back then, it still feels like insanity, just like back then. It still feels like chaos. You've got companies losing money, people spending less money, the economy crashing, AI currently like taking jobs or reducing jobs or changing the way that we work. So people are losing work. I've lived through it once. Different circumstances, same situation. It's the same situation, different font. Let's be real. And what I want to say to you is there is still a way to win, even in a chaotic job market. I've done it. My clients are doing it. I got a job in 2023. The market started to crash then, like this time round. It started to get bad back then. I still was able to land a job. One of my close friends has just landed a role like 2 months ago. My clients are still landing roles. No one over here is magic or special or doing anything different other than we understand that every industry has a currency and you need to be able to speak to that currency, especially when it's not to do with profit. When you work in sales, when you deal with a role that directly impacts the bottom line, which is revenue, money, it is so much easier to talk about how you impact the money. But what happens when you work in a role where money is not the outcome? There is still a currency and you need to understand what that currency is. So like I said, I'm going back to this. I have been able to get almost every job offer at interview since the early 2000s until now. There's only one role that I remember not getting, and another role actually where they didn't offer it to me because they said they felt I'd get bored, and they connected me with someone else who then offered me a job. Like they said to me, we think you'd be good with someone in another area. And I thought they were giving me lip service when actually, no, they weren't. I connected with someone else on LinkedIn and then she offered me a role. If anything, since the early 2000s, I've turned down more jobs than I've been offered. Is that right? No, I don't know. You know what I mean. I've just turned down a lot of jobs. I've been offered a lot and I've turned down more jobs than I've accepted. That's what I was trying to say. Like, I have been able to turn down jobs because of this one thing. The one thing is me understanding every industry's currency, or understanding that every industry has a currency. Even if I don't know what the currency is for a specific industry, I know how to find out. And being able to find that out makes it easier. So even when I've changed industry, being able to figure out what that industry's currency was is how I was able to change industry. No experience, no qualifications. It's how I've been able to change role and still stay in management. Like I do a totally different role to what I've ever done before currently, but I was still able to stay in management. Why? Because I understand that every role has a currency. I figure out whether I think I can deliver that currency, and then I go to interview and talk about it. What I want to give you a few examples of today is different currencies in different industries so you have an understanding of what I am talking about and why it matters. So I'm going to start off with teaching because that's the easiest one for me because that's what I used to do. Before I got into HR, before I got into recruitment, I was a teacher. I was an early years teacher. And in teaching, the currency in teaching is Ofsted. how well are you impacting their overall Ofsted grade? The currency in teaching is how well are your students performing? That's super important because let's be real. If your students are outperforming all the other students in the school or all the other students in the year, then you're going to be seen as a great teacher. If you talk about that at interview, like, oh, in my last job, my students were outperforming other classes in the same year by 12%, their test scores showed it, or their reading grade showed it, then you're going to be the person that they're going to want to hire. If you can say that your students are outperforming the national average, now imagine the national average is, I don't know, everyone's getting a B at a certain age, at a certain point of the year, and all your kids are getting A's. So you're like 12% above the national average. Imagine talking about that interview. That's what they care about. That's the currency of that industry. If we leave schools alone for a minute and we go into a totally different sector like tech, people always think that tech, the only thing they care about is money and how much money the tech's going to make. But no, people manage products in tech. There's a lot of new technology coming out, a lot of new products. If you're a product manager or you work in a product team, the currency there is user growth and engagement. Because if you're a product manager, what you want to be able to say is, I increased weekly activity for users by 35%. You're speaking in the industry language. You're speaking about their currency because that is what they care about in that part of tech. More than necessarily just talking about how you've impacted money, the currency they care about is how did you impact the user growth and engagement when it came to that product. If we think about healthcare, we think about the NHS, they care about wait times, but they also care about patient outcomes and safety. If you're working for a hospital and you can talk about recovery rates, reduced complications, wait times, patient safety metrics, that's what they want to hear. That's how you get the job offer. A lot of people still go into interview and talk about their tasks. So they're talking about what they can do. They're like, oh yeah, I'm great with the customers. I've done X, Y, Z. Like for instance, in human resources, I could say I've done referencing. I could say I've done payroll. I can say I've done benefits. I've managed benefits. That's all well and good, but why does it matter? Why does the fact that I can manage benefits help my company? Because guess what? They're going to see 5 other HR managers in that same day that are going to say the same thing. They can also manage benefits. So why me and not them? And that's what I'm talking about. If you're a nurse and you're talking about, or you work in healthcare and you're like, oh, I'm really good with the patients. Guess what? Everyone else is going to say that too. No one is going to come to the interview and say I'm rubbish with the patients. No one is going to say, not going to say they know how to administer medication. They know how to administer medication. That's their job. You should be able to do it. That's not impressive at an interview. When you go for interview, stop talking about what you should be able to do because it's not impressive. I just had that thought right now while I'm talking to you guys. It is not impressive to be able to talk about what you should be doing anyway. It is impressive at interview to talk about why what you should be doing is having an impact. Why what you should be doing is impressive. Why what you should be doing impacts the currency or the profit of a company. But it is never impressive to talk about what you should be doing. So I'm going to jump into a few more things that you can talk about depending on your industry when it comes to currency. And again, not what we should be doing, but why it matters, why what we do matters. Marketing. Now, marketing affects money. We know it does because marketing helps bring in more customers and those customers will buy and those purchases make the company money. Great. However, that's not what you sell as far as currency when you're a marketer. What you should be selling is attention. What you should be telling is that you know how to improve a company's reach, their engagement, their conversions, and the brand awareness. Why? Because all those things will eventually impact the profit. If you know how to get attention, if you know how to get the customer's attention, you know how to get more eyes on their brand, they're going to want to employ you. Because what they're going to say is, oh, she knows how to increase our engagement. She knows how to get more eyes on our brand. If more eyes are on their brand, there's more chances of them making more sales. More sales equals more money. So you impact the profit, but you can talk about it in the currency of attention. How much attention did you get in your last marketing campaign? How many new customers were you able to engage through social media posts? through content that you've created, through live events. How much brand awareness did you create through the activities that you do? Even if we think about something like journalism, when we think about journalism, we don't think about people making crazy loads of money. When we think about the news, we don't think about people making lots of money. Again, the currency is audience, attention, views, subscribers. That also goes for marketing as well. If you can increase subscribers, then you're good at marketing. But if you can do that as a journalist, like if people like to watch you, if people like to listen to you, if people like to read your articles, that's what you're selling when you go to interview. You're going to tell them, listen, I can increase your views. I can increase your subscribes. People like what I do. I will grow your audience, which in turn will grow the influence that your news channel has. It will grow the influence that your newspaper has. It will grow the reach because more people will be talking about it. It will make people aware of who you are. So you're able to grow audiences. That's what you sell if you're in media or journalism. There are so many things that we can talk about. I'm going to touch on law because my oldest is studying that. In law, what you want to talk about, the currency, is your wins, your case wins, your settlements that you've helped people achieve. Risks reduced for clients. If you work with clients and you've helped reduce the risk of them being taken to tribunal, you've helped reduce the risk of them doing the wrong thing so that they end up with a lawsuit. That's what the currency is. So many people on my social media, when I talk about currency, they're like, currency is easy to talk about when you're in sales, Adele. I'm not currently in sales. So it's an interesting thing when I hear people say that. But I have obviously been in sales. I've done recruitment, I've done sales, I've done all of that. But I've also been in other places, in other industries. I've recruited marketers, which again still impacts bottom line of a company. But I've also worked in HR. I currently do HR. Compliance, governance, they're the things that people care about right now in my job. Like, how well am I doing those things? How well am I running the whole process? Are there bottlenecks? Am I able to reduce those bottlenecks? So when people say to me, profit is always easy to talk about. It's always easy when you're in sales or making money. What about when you impact sales indirectly? What about when you work in an industry, healthcare, youth work, schools, that doesn't care about money? You can't go into a school interview and be like, oh yeah, I can help you make this much money. What? You teach students. You teach children. How? It doesn't even make sense. If you work in pastoral support, if you're a pastoral manager, you don't impact revenue. You impact reputation. What parents care about, what Ofsted care about, what social services care about. It is not the same as talking about sales, but you still need to talk about currency if you want to land the role. How was I, a teacher, able to negotiate money above the normal salary bands? Because I know how to talk about the currency of that industry. I know that every industry has something like profits. Even if it's not money, there's a currency. And that's what I need you guys to remember the next time you sit in an interview. If you want more offers, even in this job market, even while things are going wrong, we all know that AI is moving roles. AI is taking some roles, but you're not losing your job to AI. You're losing your jobs to people who can use AI. I've spoken about that before. However, the displacement of AI is causing chaos because there are some admin functions that are literally disappearing before our eyes. They are disappearing and people are having to pivot or shift into totally different roles. If you are pivoting or you are currently shifting, the way you're going to be able to do it is to talk about currency. Someone said to me the other day, but I'm going to be interviewing up against people, Adele, that already have the experience. Okay, that's great to know. But what does that mean? Because a lot of you will say to yourself, well, if I go against someone who's got experience and I don't have experience, they're going to get the job. If that's the case, then how have I got any of my jobs when I've changed industry? How have I got my job when I change role? How have my clients been able to do it? And also, this is what I want you to think about. Usually, most people that go for interviews are all experienced. So if all 5 people are experienced, now what's their excuse? Because it's easy for us that don't have experience in the industry to say, oh, well, the people that are experienced are going to get the job. So what, all 5 people that have the experience are going to get the job? No, because that's not what jobs do. If they only cared about experience, they would look at your CV and they would hire you. They wouldn't interview you. Why do we interview? I'm in human resources. Let me let you know, if I see 5 CVs and they all have the experience, why am I interviewing? Why don't I just pick one out of thin air? Why don't I just say, oh, let me go with this person? Why? Because it's more than your experience. It's more than your qualifications. It always has been. We get told, go school, get a good education, you'll be able to get a good job. Then why is it that every job you've been for, you didn't get the job? Why is it that every interview you sat, you didn't get the job, even when you had experience? Why is it that there are loads of people currently in the job market with crap loads of experience struggling to get jobs? Because they're talking about their experience. They are not talking about why their experience matters. They're not talking about why their experience, how their experience impacts the currency of the job, how they are influential. They're not speaking about any of those things. They're just saying, oh, I've got 5 years experience. I've got 10 years experience. I've got 15 years experience. Guess what, guys? I've got 16 years experience in HR. And it doesn't mean, or HR/recruitment, it doesn't mean when I go for a recruitment interview, I'm going to get the job straight away just because I say to them, oh, I've got 16 plus years experience. And what, Adele? You could have done 16 years of average work, or you could have done 16 years of impactful work. Guess who's getting hired? Not the average Adele, the impactful Adele, the one who knows how to speak about her work in terms of currency. Listen, I can make the most average thing sound amazing. Why? Because I speak about it in terms of currency. I'm no better than anyone else that I go up against an interview. I don't believe I am. I believe that I'm better in how I speak about what I do. I believe that I talk directly to what the company wants. You are the solution to their problem. A lot of people talk about, oh, when you go for interview, they've got a problem, position yourself as the solution. The way you position yourself as the solution is to tell them what it is you can do that impacts the currency of their company, the currency of that industry. Because it's twofold. It's the industry and it's the company. Because within an industry, each company will have a slightly different currency. How do you get that information? You find it on their website. You find it on Google when you search for like wins, accolades, things, articles where they've talked about things. When the CEO talks, what things does the CEO talk about? What are they pushing? What's the conversation? If the conversation the CEO is talking about is all AI based, I promise you that's filtering down through the company. They care about AI. They care about people that know how to talk about AI or build AI or whatever it is. You go in and you talk about that. Amazing. You talk about how you use AI to make yourself more efficient. You're talking to their currency. Job adverts, job descriptions, these things will help you figure out what the currency is for the job you are interviewing for. Then all you've got to do is talk about how you've impacted that currency previously and how you will impact it for them going forward. That's it. We don't have to overcomplicate things when it comes to interviews. There are 1,000 different things you can do at interview, but one of the main things you should be doing, talking about the currency, talking about what the person cares about, not what you did, but why it matters. And once you perfect that, the outcomes that I can get, the outcomes that my clients have got, the outcomes that some of my listeners have got just by listening to this podcast, it starts to feel easier. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean you're getting every single job offer. It doesn't. Let's keep it real. Like in this job market, you might go for 5 interviews, but if you at least get offered 3, isn't that better than going for 5 and getting none? Or for some people, you'll go on 1 interview and get 1 offer, and that will be amazing because guess what? Now you don't have to go for all them other interviews because you got the offer that you wanted. You got the money that you wanted. This job market is unlike any that we've ever seen, but the rules, they haven't changed as much as people want to say they have. The people that were always getting the best promotions, the best salaries, the best opportunities were always the people that could speak about their impact, whether that was impacting profit or whether that was impacting the currency of that industry. So this is your reminder. Your next interview, talk about the currency of that industry. And if you're struggling to figure out what the currency of that industry is, just ask AI. Just go over to whatever AI is your preferred one and say to it, what does the company or what does this industry care about most in terms of results, outcomes, or impact if I'm going for interview? What should I be talking about? What was matter to them most in this industry in terms of results and outcomes? That's a good prompt. That's always a really good prompt. What matters most in this industry? However, remember, it's not just industry. You also need to do the same for the specific job because Some people just think about the industry and then it comes off really generic. You need to be able to speak to the company. And overall, the industry might have like 5 things that they care about, but the company may, for the role that you're going for, only care about 1 or 2 of those things. So out of those 5 things the industry cares about, it might only be 2 things for your specific role. So then you need to focus on those 2 things. Listen, guys, I love doing episodes like this because, as you can tell, I'm passionate. And sometimes I'm speaking so fast, I forget what I want to say. But I hope this has helped someone. Go look up what the currency is for the industry that you're in or the industry that you want to move into, and start formulating answers or thoughts in your head that you're like, okay, I've done that and this is how I do it for them. And if you need support doing that, reach out, book a one-on-one coaching session. I will get you together, 90 minutes with me, and we will get you together. We will have so many points that you will be able to use in your next interview. Like, it will blow your own mind because, like I said, I can make anything sound impressive, and there is never a need to lie. It's just that you haven't realized how impressive you already are. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this episode, and I will speak to you in the next one. I hope this episode gave you exactly what you needed and motivated you to confidently take steps towards your next career move. If you enjoyed it, screenshot and share it on your socials, tag me on Instagram, and come join my community of amazing women working on leveling up their confidence and career. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.